So let's start. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sandeep Yadav, and I'm a Prime Minister's Research Fellow at Department of Technology, Science and Engineering, IIT Bombay. Today, we are taking the sixth week of weekly problem solving session as a live for a course NPTEL HS 24 Energy Resources, Economics and Environment that is offered by Professor Nanga Banerjee. So let's start. So before starting directly to the week number 6, I just wanted to make sure that have you faced any problem in the solving the week number 5 quiz? Otherwise, I will solve. We'll just briefly discuss this before we starting. Can anyone of you confirm that I'm audible and visible? Okay, thanks. Thanks. So I'll start with the previous week assignment 5. So So this was the case in the previous week assignment 5. So question number 1 says, what did Professor Julian Simon believe about resources and their prices? So that's a direct question taken from the slides. The answer for this question is option number D. That we are not facing any scarcity resources, hence the prices will decrease. Other comments are we are facing a scarcity of resources and the prices will increase. No, that's not a right answer. We are facing scarcity of resources and the prices will decrease. We are not facing scarcity of resources and the prices will increase. So that's I think I've also solved this in the question number in the weekly tutorial sessions. If you want more explanation, there's a link solution that is given already. Like Professor Julian Thomas was a Plutonian who believed that planet's resources were not actually finite and hence there would be there will not be a scarcity. Thus, he predicted that in the long term, the prices of these resources will increase. So that statement was partially true from the year 1988 to 1990, but and that's very controversial and not holds true for the longer term. Question number 2 that I think somebody have also asked in the chat box also, which material has the highest embodied energy, megajoule per kg. So as that in the shown in the slide itself, titanium is having the largest embodied energy because it's hard to mine as well as it's very difficult to process it from the mines. Question number 3 says, according to the hoteling rule, what relationship does it establish between the market price of a resource and its extraction cost over time? Option 1, the market price should decrease faster than the extraction cost. The market price should rise at the rate equal to the extraction cost. Option C, the market price should rise at the rate equal to the rate of interest, and the market price and the extraction cost are unrelated. No, they are related. As per the Hodling rule, it says the market price should rise as rate equal to the rate of interest. It was directly taken from the slide itself, so you can get to more details. And the question number 4, let's come to that. If the demand function is expressed at 5p plus 6qt is equal to 150, determine the Chocoff price. So Chocoff price is the price when as we can see the source. So the demand function can be written in that price pt will be equal to 150 minus 60 according to the Chocoff price. When we substitute qt is equal to 0, then we update pt will equal to 30. So that price answer will be 30. I hope nobody is facing any sort because it's a very easy question. I have solved many questions like that in the tutorial itself. Question number 5 said for the same demand function as above, question 4, that is 5 PT plus 6QT is equal to 150. Calculate the initial price. Assume that discount rate is for 12% and the resource lasts for 50 years. So they are also they're giving the when the resource will lasting and the interest rate. Express your answer in the two correct decimal points. So while solving, we have already know that discount rate is given 12% and time period is t is equal to 150. So we know that we have just calculated PT is equal to 30. So when we put that P naught is equal to PT upon O1 plus D, then we'll get the final answer. P naught with initial quantity X, initial price will be 5.48 rupees or 5.48 units. The same question, if that assume the discount of 12%, that is expression under correct 2 points. Calculate QT at T is equal to 5. So here they're asking in the similar question, they're asking the calculate QT. So we have already calculated the demand function and the PT that says, sorry, PT is equal to 150 minus 6QT upon 5. So A value I have already explained 150 by 5 and B 6 by 5. So if by substituting these values, we can get the values of QT, and that's formula we have already have this in the slides itself in the derivation that we have derived, and the final, if we put all these values in this formula, we'll get 16.95. Moving to the question number 7. In case of linear inverse demand curve, how will the extraction path change with discount rate? The resource will get exhausted faster if discount rate is lower. The resource will get exhausted faster if the discount rate is increased. Yes, if the discount rate is increased, the resource will exhaust faster. This question I've already explained in the last week's tutorial, so I'm not going to explain it again. Which of the following represent a constant elasticity demand curve? So for calculating the constant elasticity demand curve, we have to check all the options. So we will calculate using the relation mod infinite efficiency will be equal to dq by dqt by qt upon dpt by upon pt. For all the options we will calculate, then we will see only option number B is having the demand magnitude of elasticities. That's why only the demand function has the constant elasticity in the option number 2. In the question number 9, a resource lasts longer in the monopoly as the in a perfect competition market. Yes, we have already explained this thing that to maximize the profit, a monopolist would primarily in a particularly release a less amount of resource so that the price increases and the overall revenue increases, with the result that resource is going to last longer. So in the monopoly market, resources are lasting longer as compared to the perfect competition market. I hope nobody is facing any problem in this quiz 5. If you still have any doubts, I will still clear it to you. Otherwise, we move to the week number 6. I don't see any doubt in the chat box also, so I'll consider it that you don't have any doubt. So let's move to the weekly content. So I will briefly cover the topics that has briefly covers the theory part of the revise the material that has been taught in the week 6. That is a let's do it. So that started this topics. The topic of this week was preference, utility and social choice. So based on that, Asar has already explained this in the very detailed manner. I will briefly discuss it and move ahead to the problem solving session. to begin with. Preference relation, ranking of preference between the bundle of, suppose we have a given a bundle of choices and the consumer as a supplier. So for this, like for example, wine and cheese, pizza and movies, resource and the environment. So we have to choose, and based on what relation we can make a social choice. So these are things I explained, like preference relation properties are competitiveness, transitivity, non stational monotonicity. The more is better. So these things are already explained in the lesson, so I will not go. So that was an example that Asayas gave. So if the apple is more preferred over the orange, and the orange is more preferred over the bananas, and then it simply implies that apple is more preferred than the bananas itself. That's called transitivities. And the preference, suppose A have the choice, so these are three choices. A have the choices of one movies and two pizzas, and B have the choices of one pizzas and two movies, and C have the choices of both two movies and two pizzas. So similarly, C will be more preferred. Set of so indifference curves, so set of consumption bundles that consumer thinks are equally good. CO3s are indifferent to the consumption bundle. So these are x is equal to the y. So this is already explained. So there are few things that we need to remember that about the indifference curve. It should not intersect, like two indifference curve cannot be intersect. So these are this should be already they will never intersect each other. Other thing is it should not be upward sloping. It should not be a thick curve. Other thing is the convexity. And there's one thing called utility. So what is utility? Utility is an economic term referring to the total satisfaction that we receive from the consuming any good. Suppose you're consuming any services, so whatever the satisfaction that you get is from that services is called utility. It can be having watching a movie, having a food, or uh, getting any kind of social service. So there's a mathematical term that is defined as a utility function. So there are few properties that has been explained for the utility function, that is independence, competitiveness, transitivity, continuity, increasing function, and ordeal, not ideal. Yeah, someone want to say something? Okay, let's continue. These things are so there is one term marginal utility. So change in the utility per unit addition of the goods. Suppose there's a x amount of goods that is getting addition. So du by del x, del u by del x will be the addition of that additional good. That's called marginal utility. It should increase, decrease, or remain constant. So this is a mathematical term for that marginal rate of substitution. Now moving ahead, there's a marginal rate of, so there's a formula that's minus delta x2 by delta x1 will be equal to like mu1 upon mu2. That will be equal to del u by del x1 upon del u. So initially, if you there's a derivation that is solved. So if you want more details about it, you can go through the videos again. Now moving to the, there's a same thing that's the derivation that's already been explained. So okay. So these are the things, and continuing more things. Okay, moving ahead, there was a few questions like what is the right balance between the environmental protection and the use? How much environmental protection should we have? And what is the social and economical, social and political question? So this is says briefly like in the discussion the detail. So there are a few examples like environmental examples that has been discussed, like air pollution in the Santiago, California, discussion and the Three George Dam in the China. So there any political or any construction activity that we are going to do, that will have some environmental impact. So based on that socio-political impact, after studying the political impacts, that project should be feasible or not feasible, that should be studied. Like there are a few examples that has given in Indian context, like Narmada Valley project, Vedanta, like bauxite mining, iron ore mining in the Goa, Mumbai's coastal project, and the metro shed in the RS Society Mumbai. So that has been a good example of the uh, socio socio political social environmental examples. So there are some details also discussed. So I will not go through that. There are few constraints that has been discussed. Sorry, some problem. Just a minute. Yes. Yeah, so there are few terms, philosophical perspectives that has been discussed, like biocentrism. Biocentrism is the term that has been. I will just briefly summarize it. Biocentrism is the term that is having every individual species is having an intrinsic value. Even a virus is having should be allowed to live. So that's called a biocentrism. Like biological terminology should be the at the highest. Second thing is the sustainability. The similar thing, biological world at the center value of the system. All the living being have the intrinsic value, regardless of their instrumental value. But this should not be true. Like in the example has been taken as for the smallpox virus. It should be something can be totally useless if you can consider biosecurity as the topmost priorities. Second thing is the sustainability. So an environmental policy is right if it is preserve the integrity of an ecosystem, and wrong if it does not. So by there's a definition that is given, like if moving ahead to the biocentrism, fishing is acceptable, and but the overfishing should not be acceptable. So that's a balance between the biocentrism and the extremism. So there's a definition that given by the Britain Commission. Sustainability is defined as development that meets the needs of present without compromising the ability to future generation to meet their own needs. That's called sustainability. Other thing that there are some more definitions that has been given. Like Robert Solow defined that making sure that the next generation is as well as of the present generation, and ensuring that this continues for the all the time. Now moving ahead to the there's a balance between sustainability and the biocentrism. Hunting should not be acceptable for the biocentrist, but acceptable for the sustainability point of view. The thing is called the anthropocentrism, the human point of view. So that this type of philosophical discussions are based on that human needs are on the topmost priorities. Like everything on that exists on that planet is for the human only. So these terms is called the like whatever the things are on this planet is for the human. Like that does not consider about the environment or any other thing. Environment only there for the for one purpose, to provide material gratification for the human only. That's very controversial things. So and there's a one more thing called utilitarianism. The well-being people attain from the environment, materialistic, spiritual, instrumental, or the intrinsic, whatever the utility we get after consuming the environmental things. Like that, this could be materialistic, spiritualistic, and instrumental, or any intrinsic value. So based on that, we can make us some social choices and individual values. So there are a few methods to make a social choices. So there's an n person society that has been derived. So I'm not, I will not go through that. I'll just briefly explain you what is a utility and what is a pure biocentrism approach has been discussed. So now going ahead to the Pareto's criterion. So there's a scientist called Pareto. That's all. Pareto, Italian economist. So he has defined few optimality functions. So this thing is called comparing between two persons viewpoint, like A's utility and B's utility. So if you will see here, like W is Z is more preferred over for the both the choices like A's and B's over the W. But if you see the X is more preferred for the A, but less preferred for the B. So this is called a Pareto. That's if you want more details, you can go through this source. Now moving ahead, there's the same thing that says also already explained these things. That's why I'm not going into the details. You can go to the videos again to get some more details that will be more beneficial for you. So there's the derivation to start for the Pareto's criterion. Uh, Moving ahead, there's something called Pareto's potential improvement. Suppose there is a social choice like X was more preferred for the A. So if you want to move for the we can increase from the delta A and the delta B for the Z, so that we can come to from this to this, so that this will be more from the some trade-offs can be made between the A's and B's utility so that we can get a proper utility function for both the things like utility A and utility B. So that's called Pareto's potential improvement. Going ahead. So these are the theory parts that I'm not discussing it. So there's a one thing like Professor Kenneth Arrows. They has got the Nobel Prize in Economics from the for the year 1972 for his suggested for their pioneering contribution for the general economic equilibrium theory and the welfare theory. So based on his theory, we have just derived few welfare functions. So that interpersonal comparison of utilities has no meaning, and that there's no meaning relevant to the welfare comparison in the measurability of the individual utility. So that thing is said by that thing is called Arrow's impossibility theorem. So he has given few six theorems like all the human needs cannot comes to a single point. That's called like all the six things cannot be made possible if we consider all the, so if you want to make any social choice. Somebody want to say anything? If you have any doubt, we can discuss it and then we can continue. You can also write in the chat box if you are not able to unmute yourself. So based on the let's continue. So based on the arrows social choice mechanisms, they have the six indicators like competitiveness and unanimity, non-dictatorship, transitivity, independence of irrelevant alternatives, and universality. So it says that all the social charges can be compared called completeness, unanimity for if A is preferred to B, social choices should society prefer A to B. Non-dictatorship says that no one should always get their way. Transitivity says A is greater than equal to B and B is greater. It already implies A is always greater than C. So independence of irrelevant alternative society's choice between A and B does not depend on the any other alternative. So universality says any possible individual ranking of alternative is possible. So based on these six, it says there is no rule satisfy all the six axioms for converting individual preferences into a social preference ordering. No need theory of social decision making possible. So that says the Arrow's impossible theorem. There's one thing called Pareto frontier. So all the allocation for which there are no allocations that are Pareto's preferred, and allocation is efficient if it lies on the Pareto frontier. So if you will see there, if all the allocations lies in this graph, so if you will see that from the this arc on the A or B, like S, Y, Z are these are the points lies on the Pareto frontier. No, so Pareto says that nothing is more efficient than this Pareto frontier. Or if anything lies on that frontier, it should be more efficient. So moving ahead, there's like welfare economics that has been explained. There's office memos arrangement. So we'll cover these things like consumer and production cycle by solving few numerical problems. So that will give you more insights about this. Otherwise, if you will discuss the theories, that's going. I'm going to repeat it again and again. That's all been discussed. So this question has been okay. So let's move to the this week's content. Still, if you have any doubts, you can ask me or unmute yourself and you can ask. You can type in the chat box also. Okay. Then I will consider that everything is clear and I'll move ahead to the this week's content, the problem solving approaches. So let's start without delaying it further. I hope everyone can see this. Yes. So in this week, we have mostly the theoretical questions because this content is purely theoretical. So let's continue with the problems. In this week, the title was like we are covering preference utility and the utility of social choice. There's more of kind of economics theory. So that says question number one, starting with you can whatever the answer that you will feel is correct, you can comment down in the chat box. Assuming that there is no situation between the following options is are true for the indifference curve. So we have I've just explained what is the indifference curve. This is a multiple option question. You can put as many as whatever the fields is right. Option one says the indifference curve represent a locus of varying utility for similar goods and services. Option B says indifference curve can never intersect but can be parallel. Yes, it is right. Option C says indifference curves can never be upward sloping. Is it right or wrong? And option D says in some cases indifference curve is a thick curve. Anybody want to answer this? So as per the definitions that I've explained, just from the lecture videos. So indifference curves can there's a two terminology. The indifference curve can never intersect each other. That's true. Other thing is indifference curve can never be upward sloping. It should be always downward sloping, and it can't be a thick curve. So that's why these two statements are wrong. So option number B and option number C is right options. I hope nobody is having any doubt. If you have, you can just unmute and type in the chat box. Okay, let's move to the question number two. Which of the following properties of the utility function Which of the following are the properties of the utility function? So here it is asking about the utility function. You just explained what is the utility function and what is its properties. So properties are ordinal. Ordinal is a property. Yes, we have uh, utility, continuity, diminishing marginal utility, dependence, and the duality. It's also a multiple choice question. So you have to you can choose more than one options also. So first of all, we'll see what is utility function. So your properties of utilities functions are independence, transitivity, completeness, continuity, to be increasing function. Option number C, ordinal. So if the same thing it's asking. So if you will see these six properties, if you will see the between these six properties, you will see ordinal and continuity options will be right. I hope this is sort this in detail, so nobody's facing any problem. So let's move to the question number 3. So it says, consider the following combination of goods for person X and person Y, denoted by X and Y axis, respectively. So there's a few points like point number A. Point number A says utility for X. So there are a few things like utility for X and utility for Y. So utility for X is so this is in the terms of point X and Y axis. So this is for the X utility for the X and utility for the utility point A is lies in the this. So this is the graph. This graph was not there in the question. You will be just given as a this points, so you have to draw this graph. So I'm just for the sake of easiness, I'm putting this graph here so that it will be easy to solve this question. So there are a few points are given like point A, B, C, and D. So we have to see what is the statements which are true or which are false. So point number A says utility for X will be 1. So this point will be lie in the 1 and 1.5. This here. Point number B 2 and 2.5. This is B. Point number C 0.5 and 2.5. That's here DC. And the point number D 2 and 1. So we have drawn all the points in the from the utility of X and utility of Y. Now we have to see which statement is true. Point A is Pareto preferred over point B. Is it true? Anyone want to try? We have just remembered that this was the Pareto's frontier. So whatever lies near this range, this will be more preferred. So option number 1 says Pareto point A is more preferred than the over the point B. So that's not true. Point B is more preferred over the point A. So option A will be wrong. B will be the right option. Someone should try some. On option number C says moving a point A to C can be potential Pareto improvement A to C. So if you move point A to C, is it a Pareto improvement, or moving point D to point C? It can be Pareto improvement. So if we'll see D is more nearer to the uh, Pareto frontier. So moving point A to point C will be more Pareto improvement. So that thing will be right option. So option number B and option number C are right choices. So if you will see, point number B is having more utility. If you want to more explanation, point number B is having more utility over the point A. Hence option B is B was correct based on that. And also moving point A to point C is a loss of 0.5 units. If you will see here, it's a loss of 0.5 units, but it's a gain of 0.1 unit. If you will see, if you move point A to point 1.5 to 2.5, it is a gain of 0.1. So it will be a overall gain. But if you will see from the point D to point, what is the statement D says? Moving point D to point C. Moving point D to point D implies that if you will move it, that will be a decrement of 1.5 points, and this we are getting an increment of 1.5. So overall we are losing it. So it will be, so moving point A is a moving point A to C can be a potential Pareto improvement. I hope nobody is having any doubt. If you are having, we can just still solve it.
Sir, sir,
Yes.
this Pareto prefer means that the point which will be nearer to that curve, that will be considered to be Pareto preferred over another point, right? Like the graph which you
Uh,
have given, like it's a parabolic. So the point which will be closer to that graph, that will be considered over Pareto preferred over another point which is far away from that graph. You mean to say like that, no?
Yeah, if you will see that if the things are given in the shape of graph, then that whatever the statement you and me are trying is correct. But here we can see there's a utility for the x and utility for the y is given. So if you will see, if the point D is, point B is having the highest utility for the x and y both, correct? If you will see, for the
Yes, yes.
utility for x is equal to 2 and utility for b is equal to 2.5. So that's having a highest utility point. D is the second highest, the B and the A. So if we want to make a C is a more the improved version. So rather than choosing D to C, and A to C is more preferred. That's why option statement C was right. Correct.
Oh, thank you.
It's based on the utility of x and y.
Utility between x and y, utility for x, and based upon the 2 points,
Utility for,
we can determine.
yeah, correct.
Okay.
I hope you're getting. Now moving ahead. Anyone else having any problem or any doubts? You can ask, because we have very less strength, so we can clear it one to one basis also. You just don't hesitate it and ask. Okay, so if nobody's asking, we just move ahead. Which of the following are the characteristics of an ideal social choice mechanism? Non-transitivity, universality, and unanimity, and competitiveness. Anybody wants to try this question? Okay. So there also there are 6 characteristics for ideal social choice mechanism. What are they? They are completeness.
I found this on the web.
Sorry. One is completeness. Second is unanimity. Third was non-dictatorship. Fourth was transitivity. Fifth was independence of internet independence. We can shortly write independence of irrelevant alternatives. And option C was universality. So here it's asking which of the following are the characteristics of ideal social. So if you will see non-transitivity, no, it should be transitivity. Option B says universality. Yes, it's matching out. What are the things? Unanimity and competitiveness. So it's not competitiveness. It's completeness. So you have to just think whatever the things you're asking. So this is also wrong. I hope nobody's having any doubt. Okay. So if you're not having any doubt, we will move ahead. According to the anthropocentrism centric worldview, all the components of the environment have both instrumental and intrinsic value. Choose an option to indicate whether the above statement is true or. So what do you think? This statement is true or false? Like according to the anthropocentric worldview, it says all the environmental have both the intrinsic and the instrumental value. Is it true? Just give you a minute to think about it. You can just answer.
True.
Okay. Anyone else? So the statement is wrong. Why so? Because as per the anthropocentric view, all the components are having only instrumental values. Intrinsic values are considered for the biocentric view. So this thing was only for the biocentric view, and instrumental is for the anthropocentric view. So that statement is wrong. If you want more details, I just explain you. I've just covered this in the slides. So we'll see here. Yeah, here anthropocentric view they're asking. So anthropocentric only instrumental value to the environment. So I think it's clear to you. So if you want to see the biocentric approach says it's a having the where is so yeah biocentric has the intrinsic value for the all well-being. So here it is already explained. Let's move ahead.
Sir, all humans will have intrinsic value, right? For anthroponic
All
centric.
humans, all the biological
Once all living
species,
organ, all
all the living beings,
living
all the
beings
living
have
beings.
only instrumental value.
All here, if you want to see the
So can you just show the slide like this?
yeah here.
Anthropocentric, human centric.
All the
Centric
components of the environment having only instrumental value.
Hmm. Okay.
because they think all the things are that is exist on this planet is for the humans only. They can use any way that they want.
Hmm. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so let's continue. Yeah, Lenvi, you're right. That statement was also was wrong. It's deleting the comment section. So let's move to the question number 6. It says the trade between two countries is economical efficient when marginal rate of substitution for both the countries is 1. Marginal rate of substitution for both for the countries is inverse ratio of the GDP. Marginal rate of substitution for both the countries are equal, or marginal rate of substitution for countries is in the ratio of GDP. Anybody wants to try this?
Option B.
No, option number B will not be right. The marginal rate of substitution for the countries is in the inverse ratio of the GDP will not be there. It should be option number C. Like marginal rate of substitution for the both countries should be equal. Then it can be called efficient trade. You just also see that thing in the slides. It will be like where the MRS will be was explained. Yeah. So it should be equal to like if you will see here. MRS marginal rate of substitution for the country A should be equal to the country B. So here it says that both should be equal. It should not be inversely proportional. It should not be the inverse ratios. So if you want the more details, you can just see again see the video, the timestamp for this video. I'll just give it to you for that. You can just quickly revisit it. Okay, so now let's move to the question number 7. Lawrence Summers in his 1991 memo opined that less developed countries like those in Africa are vastly under polluted and hence should not be protected from the dirty industry. Is it true or false? It's a direct question. So there's a memo that sir has discussed in his slides. This question is directly coming from there. Should I move to this? See. To see that memo was there. Yeah, so that was the memo. They have few points. So it says the measurement like dirty industries just between you and me shouldn't be the World Bank's be encouraging more migration to the dirty industries to the LDC, like less developed countries. So that means what the question is asking, should not, it says hence should be protected from the dirty industries and vastly under polluted. So that statement is wrong. So if you want to more explanation, it says the cost of pollution are likely to be non-linear as the initial increment of pollution probably have very low cost, but I've always though the under-polluted countries in Africa are vastly under-polluted, their air quality is probably more vastly inefficiently low compared to the Los Angeles or Mexico City. Only the lamentable fact that so much pollution is generated by the non-traders. So if you want more data, you can just visit your tweet. I will just continue. That statement is so that statement is false. Now moving to the question number 8. Which of the following are properties of consistent set of preferences? So that's just I've just explained it in the this thing. If you want to see this preferences, there are 6 properties are there. So you can just easily mark this question if you want. Anyone who wants to give this answer? D is the most incorrect option. There are 3 things that has been explained, like completeness. It says all the options can be what it says. It said all the options can be compared. Second thing was non satiation. That says more is always preferred to less. And third thing is sensitivity. It was said if A is more preferred to B and B is more preferred to C, then A is always preferred to C. So option number A, B, and C are right. Additivity, there's no term that has been defined for the consistent set of properties. I hope this is clear to you. Now, there's a question number 9. Indifference curves can't intersect, slope downwards, slope upwards, or be convex. So if you will see the indifference curves, this should not be intersect. So this is wrong. It can't be go upward. This is also wrong. So it's always downwards and it can't be. So this it's asking can't. So it can't intersect. It can't slope upwards. So that will be the 2 choices that we have to make. Anyone having any doubt? Let's move ahead. The question number 10. Which of the following is true? According to the biocentrism, all the non-humans have only instrumental values. All the according to the biocentrism, all the humans have only instrumental values. Or according to the anthropocentrism, all the humans have only instrumental values. So statement 1 and statement 2. Biocentrism, it doesn't say anything about humans. They say all the living beings have the right to live. So option number B will be false. Option number A will be false. It says all the living beings having the intrinsic value. And option number C says, according to the anthroposentrism, so that statement is true. These two are wrong. Anthropocentrism holds that all the humans have only instrumental values, and whereas the biocentrism hold all the aspects of the intrinsic values. Correct this value. So that's option number C is right. Yeah, very good. That's a right answer. Let's move ahead to question number 11. The trade between two countries is economically efficient. I think that's repeated. You just solve this question. So option number C will be right option. So that's the same as question number 6. Okay, let's move to question number 12. What of the following principle or axioms is or are connected to the Arrow's impossibility theorem? So there are 6 axioms that are given by the Arrow's impossibility theorem. If you remember this, you can answer this question. Anybody wants to try? So I think I've just given all the options like, yeah, here I've given completeness, unanimity, non-dictatorship, transitivity, independence, and universality. So we'll just copy it here. So these were the 6. So what to solve this question, we will need only. So now you can easily solve. Transitivity, no, it was not a part of it. Completeness, yes, and not connected. So not connected, they're asking. So they're asking of only complete transitivity. Yes, it's a part. Completeness, yes, it's a part. Non satiation, no, it's not a part. And unanimity, yes. So the right answer for this will be option number C. I hope anybody is having any doubt. If you have, otherwise we'll move ahead. Okay, let's move to the question number 13. Which of the following violate the assumption of two theorems of the welfare economics? So if you remember the welfare economics, option 1 says legally enforceable property rights, monopoly, complete information, or positive transaction cost. So if you will see this thing, just let me just move to the slides that will be more clear. So assumption in the welfare. So assumptions are welfare economics are complete property rights, atomistic participant, complete information, and no transaction cost. So now legally enforceable property rights. So this is a part of it. Monopoly, no. Complete information, yes. One positive transaction cost. So only option number B is the right option. like violates the property rights. Let me just cross check it. Okay, so let's move ahead. So there are few assumptions under which the two theorems works. That's complete property right atmospheric approach, complete information, the no transaction cost. So hope this is clear. Moving to the question number 14. Which of the following statement is or are correct? All the points on the indifference curves have the same utility. Indifference curves intersect with each other. Indifference curve can have upward or downward slope. Indifference curves cannot be thick. This statement is right. Option number C, it cannot have an upward curve, so that will be wrong. Indifference can intersect each other, no. And all the points on the. So anybody wants to have a try? So this is also right. So that's option number A and D will be the right option. Now moving ahead, question number 15 that says biocentrism perspective implies that human beings should be the central point of view of all the economic activities. No. Every living organism on the earth has a value and should be preserved. Yes. Only those living organisms with instrumental values. Oh, it's called the intrinsic value, not instrumental. Oh, and the health of ecosystem is utmost priority. So only option number is incorrect. Only option number B is correct. I hope this is clear. Moving to the last question, that is last question of this short question session. After that, we move to the numerical answer type questions. It says, according to the Lawrence Summers memo, underpopulated countries are underpolluted. Health impairing pollution should be done in countries where wages are high. Dirty industries should be migrated to less developed countries. Anybody wants to try? Only this statement was incorrect. Otherwise, underpopulated countries are underpolluted. Yes, that was true. And health impairing pollution should be done in the countries where the wages are high. This is also right. If you have faced any problem in the question from question number 1 to question number 17, you can still ask. I'll just clear it to you. I'll just give you 2 minutes. Otherwise, we'll move to the numerical type questions. Let me see the chat box if you have written anything. The trade between two countries is economically efficient. Sir, can you explain, go through this question? Just wait. Yeah. So this is question number 6. The trade between two countries is economically efficient only when the marginal rate of substitution for both the countries should be equal. So these things are explained through the slides. I think you missed it. Let me just go it again. So if you will go through the slides, here's the marginal rate of transmission between the polluted and the this is not, yeah. If you will go through this, yes. So if you'll see here, the marginal utility of both the countries should be equal. Like marginal utility of function A, and then the case of two cases. So it should be the ratio should be equal and there's directly proportional. So the same is asked in the question number 6. Yeah,
Sir, I have a question.
yes, you can ask.
Sir, can you just it's a question like answer the question like which of the following is not a property of preferences? So can you just explain that? What like?
Which question was this?
Sir, actually, it was the assignment question. Like, which of the following is a which is not a property of preferences? So, what will be the correct
Okay,
answer? Like,
so
in
property of
asking question.
preference, that assignment question I can't answer it right now because it's due tomorrow.
No, just
So
you
after,
just give a brief like so that I can do the assignment. So that's
so if I'll give you the brief, like if give you the similar question. So there are three
yeah,
things.
yeah.
Which of the following are the properties of the consistent set of preferences? So there are
Hmm.
three properties. One is completeness. If you'll see here,
Hmm.
completeness. All the options can be compared. Option of
Hmm.
properties number 2 said non-satiation. It says more is always preferred to the less.
Hmm.
That's less.
Okay.
And option number like property number third says transitivity. If A is more
Hmm.
preferred over B and
Hmm.
B is more preferred over C, then A will be preferred to the C. So it says
Hmm.
that
Okay.
there are these are the only three properties of these set
Hmm.
of preferences.
Hmm.
Is there anything else?
No.
Okay, thanks.
Oh.
So if you don't have any doubt, we'll move ahead. So let's move to the numerical answer type questions. So it says which consider a utility function x2. It's 2x 2 power 2 plus 8x1 x2 is plus 3x2 square. So this is the utility function that is given. So it's asking what is the marginal rate of substitution at a point P. That's a point coordinates are given 5 3, assuming that the point P lies on the utility curve, that is u x1 x2. Round off your answer in the two decimal point. Well, I will just solve it for you. From the definition we already knew. Marginal rate of substitution, or MRS, is equal to del u upon del x1, or upon del u upon del x2. So if you will from the if you will do this thing, then we will see value upon del x1 is equal to 4x1. It's just a differentiation of del u with respect to, so 2x1 square plus
4x1 plus 8x2.
8x1 x2 plus 3x square. So that will be equal to
4x1
4x1 plus 8x2,
8x2.
correct? Yeah, and similar thing if you will do for del x upon del x2, so that will be equal to
8x1. No, 8x1 plus 6x2.
that will be equal to 8x1 plus
6x.
6x2. So now we know both the things. If you will put that thing into this equation, that we can call it equation number one. Equation number one. This we can call to the equation number two. This we can call equation number three. So from equation number one, two, and three, we can see MRS will be equal to 4x1 plus 8x2 divided by 8x1 plus 6x2. That if we will put now, they're asking for the point P, 5, and 3. So point 3. So x1 will be equal to 5, x2 will be equal to 3. If we'll put these values in this equation, we can call it equation number 4. That thing will be 4 into 5 plus 8 into 3.
0.75.
Just a minute, we are making some mistake.
Hmm. 0.75.
Yes, so that will be equal to 8 into 5 plus 6 into 3. So that value 5 by 4 is equal to 4 into 5, 20 plus 24 divided by 40 plus 18. So that will be equal to 44 divided by 58, 0.758. So that will, so now you know how to calculate marginal rate of substitution, correct? Anybody getting any doubt? Okay, I consider that you're getting it. Now moving to the question number 2, it says supply curve for a commodity in a market is given as P is equal to 100 or 1000 plus 1.5 Q, and the demand curve is given as 2000 minus 0.5 Q, where P is the commodity and Q is the quantity of commodity. P is the price of commodity and Q is the quantity of commodity. Sorry. Now find the quantity of commodity at the market equilibrium point. So this type of curves, questions we have solved. So let's do it. So we know that graph. It says if you compare the demand curve, this is the demand curve, and that is the supply curve. So there's a point that's called a market equilibrium point. Correct. So at that point, supply curve and the demand curve is equal. So it's asking the same thing. Find the quantity of commodity at the market equilibrium point. So let's start equate P where the at market equilibrium point supply curve intersect to the demand curve. So you can say P is equal to 1000 plus 1.5 Q, that was supply curve, and demand curve was 2000 minus 0.5 Q. If you will equate both the things, 1000 plus 1.5 Q will be equal to 2000 minus 0.5 Q. You will get the value of Q is equal to
500.
as a 500. So the right answer will be 500. That's how you will calculate the quantity of commodity at the market equilibrium point. Okay, let's move to the similar type of like same question. They're asking the simple other thing. What is the value of consumer surplus and the producer surplus? So if you will see this graph, this is called the this thing was called the
Consumer surplus.
consumer surplus, and this thing was called the
Producer surplus.
producer surplus.
So we have to find the area under the curve, no? Total for
Yes,
total
correct.
surplus.
Yes. So just make sure that we are correct. So just getting it confusion between the things. So if you want to see refer these things, if you'll say this is the consumer surplus, the same graph we are studying in consumer surplus and the producer surplus. So this is the price of this is example taken from the price of wine versus wine quantity of wine. So let's move. So now let's solve it. Shared area. So we have to calculate that. So if you will, I've just copied that thing. So for more easiness, if you will see this thing. So if you were to draw this, this is the. So this was the demand curve that was given. What is the demand curve that was given? And that was the supply curve. Okay, so we have to calculate the area under the BCD. That is the BCD will be this area. That will be the producer surplus. And the area that was there, this was the red one. This will be the consumer surplus. So we have to calculate area and for the triangle BCD, and for this we have to calculate the area of the ABC. So now it's easy. You can calculate here itself. Area of triangle ABC will be equal to 1/2 into base into height. So base was 500 units for the both. But the height was 2000 minus 1750. That's equal to. So that's thing we will if you combine it 5000 into 250 divided by 2, that will be 62,500 units. Yes. So that will be the equal to the consumer surplus.
Hmm.
The similar way, we'll calculate the producer surplus at the triangle BCD. BCD. It will be equal to 1 by 2 into this height, that was 500, this thing, into at 1750 minus 1000. So that will be equal to around 1,87,500 units. And that will be called
Producer surplus.
producer surplus. So I think that's here how to calculate the consumer surplus and how to calculate the producer's surplus. But this type of question you can get into the NSEM exams as well as the quiz sections. So hope this helps you. Anyone facing any doubt? Consider it clear to all. Okay. So I'll move ahead to the question number 3. I hope it is clear to all. So
Hmm.
there are three popular types of social welfare function. Wethamanite social welfare function, that is WU1 U2, egalitarian social welfare function, Rawlson social welfare function. So select two values of lambda in a egalitarian social welfare function such that it becomes equivalent to the first one and the second one respectively. So we have to choose between two values, but for the lambda. So it's a mathematical question. We'll solve this. We'll get some values. Let's solve it for you. Let's do it. So first start with the lambda is equal to, so what are the options that are given? 0, lambda is equal to 0, 1, 0.3, 0.67 and 0.33 and n and 1 upon n. We'll start with the value 0. Substituting lambda is equal to 0 in egalitarian social function. So what was egalitarian social function? It was given as W is equal to this one. W is equal to, or W is equal to, it's called W U1 U2 to UN is equal to summation of till n UI minus lambda UI minus minimum of U initially. So if you will put lambda is equal to 0 in this function, we will get what we will get. We will directly get only U1, because if you will put this thing is equal to 0, we will put is equal to 0, we will remain with this thing only. So now if you will see, this thing is a egalitarian function is equal to the Wethaman's side social function is equal to the and the mind social welfare function. Now, if you will substitute lambda is equal to 1. So if you substitute in the same function, we will get lambda is equal to 1 to substitute. u, u1, u2 to till un minus 1 into summation of n is equal to 1 ui minus minimum of, so that will be equal to, so if you will take ui is as a common, so that will remain only n into minimum of ui. So if you'll see, the we take one thing common from this, so that it will remain from. And if you will compare these things from, so it will be u2 un, we'll see the Rawlson's source of a wave function, that's it, it's the same. So it will be equal to the Gaussian social welfare function. So now the values that we got is lambda is equal to 0 and lambda is equal to 1. So the option number, what are the options that is given? That is option number B, and option number B is should be correct. I hope that is clear. That's a mathematical question. You can just get it. Yeah, if you don't have any doubt, we'll move ahead to the question number 4. This type of question we have solved it. Oh, that's not equal to your quiz question. Anybody wants to try this question? Because we have just solved this type of question just now. Oh, what's this asking? It's asking the find the price of at the market equilibrium. So at the market equilibrium, we know supply and demand curves are equal. If you have seen this graph, right now we are drawing. This is supply, this is, we have just drawn this curve. This was supply curve, this was the demand curve. Market equilibrium price. So at equilibrium price, PS will be equal to PD. So 50 plus 0.2 QS will be equal to 80 minus 0.3 QD. And also at market equilibrium price, QS will be equal to QD is equal to Q. So if you will recorrect this statement, that will be 50 plus 0.2 Q is equal to 80 minus 0.3 Q. If you calculate this, Q comes out to be 60. Now what's asking? It's just a market equilibrium price. It's asking. So market equilibrium price will be. So we have got the value of Q now. So P, if you will put this value on the P, any of the equation 0.2 Q, that is 60. That will be equal to 50 plus 12. P will be equal to 62. I hope this is clear. This is slightly different from the previous question. Anybody having any doubt? Just let me make sure that we are not solving any push questions here. Until you can think if you are facing any problem till now, otherwise we'll move ahead. I'll just give you 5 minutes. Yes. Okay. So as I see, nobody is facing any difficulty. So I'll move ahead to the question number 5. So it's the same question. It is asking us to calculate the total surplus value, like consumer plus the producer surplus for following set of supply and demand equations. This was the graph that was originally drawn for these two equations. So if you will see this, yeah, if you will, sorry. Yeah. So moving ahead to the question number 6, it's asking the total surplus producer plus consumer surplus. So if you will see this question, this was
Sir, can you
the
show that? Sir, can you
yes,
show that? Because it's not.
it's not visible to you. Okay, sorry.
Yes, sir.
Now is it
Yeah.
visible?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
thanks for pointing it out. So here we have solved the question number 4, that's asking the similar thing, what is the market equilibrium price. So here we don't have to calculate the quantities like economic order quantities or the quantity. We have to calculate the price at equilibrium. So after calculating the value of Q, we have to put that into the any of the equation to get the price of that at the market equilibrium price. So we have got this price now, and the addition, it's asking the total surplus, it's producer surplus plus consumer surplus. So if you will see in this question, so I have already drawn. So yeah, here it is. If you will see this one, yeah. So we have to calculate, if you will like again mark this question A, B, here A, B and C, here it is D. So we know what is the producer surplus, what is the consumer surplus right now. This thing is producers and this thing is consumer surplus. We can just easily calculate the areas under the curve. So for the consumer surplus, we will see that will be 1 by 2 80 minus 62 into 60. How it came? You will see here that will be 80. This thing we have to here 80 minus 62 into 60. This thing is 60. This thing is 80 minus 62. So if we will put this, so finally we will get a value around 80 minus 62 into 60 divided by 540. So consumer surplus will be equal to 540. In a similar manner for the producer surplus, that will be 1 by 2. That thing is 80 minus 50. No, 60 minus 50. Precisely, if we'll see this thing, that is 62. So 62 minus 50 into 60. If you will solve this, it comes around 360. So question is asking total surplus. So total surplus will be total surplus. We can denote as a T. T will be equal to producer surplus plus consumer surplus. That will be 360 plus 540. That will be equal to 900. So the correct option for this question will be 900. Okay. I hope that is clear. Anybody facing any problem in this solving this type of questions? Because these are the questions that you will be expecting in the exam. So we will remain only with only two questions. If you are not having facing any problems, I will move ahead with the question number 6. Okay, let's. So it's asking consider a utility function u x1 x2 is equal to x1 9 x1 x2 plus 3 x2 square. What is the marginal rate of substitution, that's MRS, at a point 3, 1, assuming that the point lies between. So we have just solved this type of question. You should be able to solve this. That is del u upon del x1 upon del u upon del x2. So if you will see del u upon del x1 will be 2x1 plus 9 x2 and del u upon del x2 will be 9 x1 plus 6 x2. If you will put these values in this, so we will get 2 into 3, that's 6. 9 into 9 divided by 9 into 3 plus 6 into 1, that will be equal to 15 upon 33. If you will see, then MRS will be equal to 15 upon 33, comes out to be 0.4545. So that's an easy question that you can calculate a marginal rate of substitution at any given point for any utility function. So we have solved two questions in this regard. So you should not face any difficulty in solving the quizzes or and some exams. Now moving, yes, let's wait for 2 minutes if you are facing any problems. Otherwise, we'll move to this final question. Anybody wants to try this question? Says the same. Minus is equal to del u upon del x1 upon del u upon del x2. We will see that will be equal to 2x1 plus 6.5 x2 or 4 x2 plus 6.5 x1. You can directly put the values. It comes out to be 10.5 upon 17. If you will solve this further, average will be 0.62. So that's a so we do not have any long questions in that sense. All the derivations are already been solved. If you will, so this is the mostly lecture consists of the theory parts. So if you're not having any, if you will, so today we have solved around yeah. So we have got to know what is the properties of indifference curve. We have got to know the properties of utility functions. That there are 6 properties. We've got to know the what is how we can calculate the compare to 2 points between the different having the different utilities. What is preferred over A, what is preferred over B. That thing we have learned. Also, we have seen the properties of ideal social like characteristics of ideal social mechanisms. We have seen the difference between the biocentric approach and the anthropocentric approaches. We have seen the questions for economically efficient. What is the equation for the marginal rate of substitution for the economically efficient rate? We have seen the Lawrence Summers memo. We've seen the questions of the consistent. What is the properties like completeness, non-citation, transitivity? What is the properties of indifference curves? We have also solved the questions on the anthropocentrisms and the traits between that repeated sorry and which of the following in the like we have solved the questions of the arrows impossibility theorems and the welfare economics. So these are the things that we have covered in the today's lecture. Also about the indifference curves of biocentric approaches, Lawrence Summers memo. There are a few questions, and we have seen the numerical answer type question that includes the consider the we can calculate the marginal rate of substitutions. Like we have solved 3 questions for any. We can calculate the we can calculate the marginal rate of substitution as well as the we can find what is the MRS for the different utility functions. We can calculate the quantity of the commodities at the market equilibrium prices. Also, based on that, we can calculate the consumer and the surplus, consumer surplus as well as the producer surplus respectively. Also, if there is some function comparison between 3 functions, and thermite, egalitarian, and the Lawson, so we can see what is the substitution of the lambda to get these 2 functions. And finally, similar type of question we have solved to reiterate the problems that you will not face in the upcoming quizzes or the exams. So this is the same thing that we have calculated. If you still have any problems, you can I will be there for the 5 more minutes. Otherwise, we'll consider it as today's lecture as a done. Any one of you?
So can you explain that Pareto preferred once again?
Which question?
So Pareto preferred that which one will be Pareto preferred over B over A, that coordinate one?
Okay, yes. We're talking about this question.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes.
So let's see from the beginning itself. Let's remove all this. So if you will see, there's a consider its question says consider the following combination of goods for person X and person Y, and X denoted as an denoted by X and Y axis. So there are few points that is given for the person X. So these things are called utility. So if you will see the utility for person X and utility for the person Y, we have to see what is the more preferred option for both the persons. So if you will see, if you see the utility of point D, that is the most preferred option for the point uh, person Y, because it's having the highest utility. What is the utility it is given? It is given as a utility equal to 2. If you will see, there's a, and the utility for person Y will be equal to 2. And if you will see the utility of person X, that will be equal to the 2.5. So that is the most preferred option for person B and person X and person Y. So what is the other most preferred option? If you will see, that is point A. Like if you will see point A is having preference order for point person X is equal to 1.5, and for sorry 1, it's 1, and for person X it's 1.5. So if you want to make this point A person, so it can directly compare, you can from point A to point B, that point B is more preferred to the point A. Why so? Because it's having more utility for both the person X and person Y. Is it clear till now? Point B
Yes,
is
sir.
more preferred to point A. Why? Because it's having more utility for both the
More
persons.
utility.
Now,
Okay.
moving ahead to the point C. So point C is having a utility of 0.5. If you can see, this is 0. Choose another color. It's 0.5 for person X1 and 0. And 2.5 per person Y. So if we want to make shift. So if you want to having a Pareto improvement potential for that function, what you will see here. If you want to go from the A2 point, sorry, just a minute, from point A to C. So A to C, we will see the reduction in the utility of X will be, what will be that? Initially it was
Means shifting towards
1,
left.
now it is 1. So it will be minus 0.5, correct? For the person X.
Yeah, it is going towards left, so it will be negative. Means
Yeah, it will be negative, and also we can calculate the magnitude as well as the quantity. It's minus 0.5 from, because it's moving from 1 to 0.5. If you will see for utility for the person Y, it's increasing from 1.5 to 2.5. That's increment of 1. Correct.
Okay.
So okay, and same if you want to move from this one, this if you will choose like let's say green color, from point D to point C. So point D is initially having a utility of 2. Now we are moving to the 0.5. So that's a reduction of minus 1.5. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you will see for the person Y, it's increasing only from 1 to 0.2.5. That's increment of 1.5. So overall, if you will see, it will having a 0 weightage as compared to here we are getting plus 0.5 in case of moving point A to C. So that's why it's more A to C is more Pareto potential improvement rather than D to C. Is it clear?
Okay. So first of all, we have to say that mode with the utility mode will be the Pareto preferred of one point over
Correct.
another. And
Yes.
and a potential Pareto improvement will be considered when the difference will be large, like shifting from one point to another point. So that's
Yes.
there I am
So
confused. Like,
we should always move from the lower utility to the higher utility. So if you point moving from point A to C is showing us the higher uh, uh, utility as compared to for the any other person, it's called Pareto. Like Pareto substitution is called. We are not adding any resources from outside, we are just utilizing the resources from the initially, like we are taking from the X and giving to the Y. So here we are taking 1 point from the so if we are taking 0.5, we are taking here, if you will just explain, we are taking 1 plus 1 from here we are taking plus 1 for the utility of Y and taking minus 0.5 for the X. So overall we are having plus 0.5, correct? But here we are taking minus 1.5 minus 1.5 and also giving 1.5. So overall we are having 0. So that's mean we are not taking and we are just moving the points. We are not getting any utility increment. Correct. Okay. I hope this solves the problem.
yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. If you are having no further questions, we can just consider this. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Upload this one. Will you upload this slide like
Yeah, I
by
will
today
upload
or
all
tomorrow?
the slides and the material section as well as the recording of this lecture will also be available in the YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.